I think my biggest fear would have been would I be able to love and take care of somebody else's child? Because taking care of your own is pretty natural. But when you take somebody else's child, a complete stranger in your home, you kind of wonder, can I really love this child like they have to be loved, I guess.
And I guess the one other thing that I might have thought about before would have been that I have the qualifications, I guess, that would meet child welfare, to be a foster parent. Would I have what it took? I knew I was a great mom, but I didn't know by their standards if I would fit that criteria.
Was I good enough to be a foster parent? I'm a single parent, so was I capable of doing it? If something happens, I don't have anybody to turn to, so what do I do, So those were some of the fears that I had, but they seem to have looked after themselves. So.
I wouldn't be able to meet the needs of the child, that I would make the commitment, get the training, and then it would be me and the child, and I would not know what to do. And the truth is that once you do it, you know if there's a connection or not. So after I had my first placement, the fears were alleviated.
We take adolescent boys in permanent care and custody. So 14 years and older was generally what we would take as foster children. So lots of fears come with that. Can we meet their needs? That's clearly the first one, but can we handle the stuff that they bring with them, and what kind of stuff are they going to bring? And what effect is it going to have on the rest of the children? Because when you become a foster parent, it's not just you or you and your partner, it's you and your partner and your kids and your pets and your parents and your siblings and your nieces and your nephews and your neighbors, and it's everybody that's a piece of this.
It's a community,
It really is. It really is. So you're making a choice that will impact everyone near and dear to you. So that's a big fear.
I didn't have any fears. I had confidence in my wife of raising any child. She'd done very well with 3 boys that she has raised, so I was very confident with her effort and her mumminess. And it was there was no fears. Like, the only thing that we really feared was I guess sort of medical conditions and stuff like that of the biological parents, but so far so good, right?
Yes. We worried about whether or not, if we had children that came into our home that had preconceived ideas about what it meant to be a same-sex couple, would that interfere with their ability to parent them effectively? I think we worried a bit about what if the birth families had preconceptions about, or concerns about their children being parented by a same-sex couple. And I think finally, for our biological children, their family is very normal to them. They don't think a lot about the fact that they have 2 moms at home, and we don't want them to feel abnormal. And we certainly would not want to bring an element into our house that would make them feel uncomfortable about the kind of family that they have. And not to say that this would be the case all the time, but we've actually had our birth family sort of positively comment on the fact, oh, he's got 2 moms, and isn't that wonderful? It's twice the love. It was just completely the opposite of what we thought and feared it could possibly be. So I would certainly say, if other same-sex couples are considering it, don't let it get in the way of kind of putting your hand up and saying this is something that you want to do. If you think that you have something to offer, I think that there are all kinds of ways, and I think the department's pretty supportive too about working through any concerns that you might have in that regard, and trying to make sure that the match is good between whether it's the birth families or the kids and you with respect to that. So yeah, don't let those fears get in the way.
I guess knowing the different types of foster children there are out there, I know that there are challenges with some foster children, and would that have an adverse effect on my own children? My own children were fairly young, so I was worried about that. That was definitely a fear that I had, and also on how the rest of my family would react, and my neighbors and my husband's side hadn't experienced fostering at all, and just how they would feel about it,
I just wondered about I had my own birth children and how they would react to having foster children in the home, and children they didn't know coming into our home and leaving our home, and how that would all happen. Well, our daughter was 5 when we brought her first foster child, and we've had children over the years that she still talks to this day that they've gotten along really good. They feel like sisters. I've even seen on the Facebook page that my sister and I, so from the other child, so it's worked out really well.
I've been working with children for a lot of years, and I knew I would like to foster, but I was concerned about what the impact would be for our birth children, and whether that meant the behaviors other children might introduce to our family, the knowledge of different troubles that they may have experienced, or the hardest part for me was knowing they'd always be saying goodbye, because fostering is temporary.
Yeah, and they do become a part of your family. They, however long they're there, so at some point you're saying goodbye. So.
A lot of people say, how do you let them go, right? That was a fear for me, to let them go. And it is, it's hard to let them go, and it's hard to see them coming into your home. It's tough, because they just don't lose their parent. They lose their environments, they lose their friends, they lose their schools. And I was afraid that my kids wouldn't realize that, how tough it is for the little ones coming in.